Hello classes, Mr. Lofstrom here. I got some, for all my classes, we need to talk about daily practice. Homework, some might call it homework, I'll call it daily practice, I think we need a pep talk on this because, even professional basketball players practice shooting free throws, okay? They get there and they do their stuff and they try to make sure it goes in. Even professional soccer players practice kicking the ball. They don't just assume that they're always going to do that. Well, for math, you need to practice that. And if things aren't going well, and I know that this is kind of counterintuitive because you like to do things that you do well at, but if things aren't going well, you need to do more practice, not less practice. You need to make sure you get things done. So my daily practice, as I'll call it, but you might think of it as homework. It's not always homework. A lot of times you can get it, some or a bunch of it done in class. So the daily practice, let's make sure we understand what we're doing about that for the scoring, okay? And kind of maybe some more of why it's there. Some of you are doing a great job here, and you're navigating the technology, and you're handing it in, and that's great, but there's too many students that are not getting it done, or not getting it done on a consistent basis. So let's remember what this is, okay, what the scale is for grading. A 4 is all done, okay, and it's mostly correct. That means less than 6 wrong. That's, 5 or less wrong. A 3, it's all done, but hey, you had lots of ones that you got wrong, all right, so you struggled with it. So I can tell the difference between those that are handing in their daily practice and breezing through it, and those that are handing it in, but they're struggling, but they're working it. A 2 would be that you almost got it done. You got 3 blank or less. A 1 is you got more than half of it done, but you obviously have more than 3 blank. Okay, and then a 0 is less than half done. Okay, so if you didn't get half of it done, to me that's not effort. You have not shown true effort of getting it to halfway mark, so that's not worth any points. All right? Now, another reminder is that math is very sequential. And so if we have a topic that we're supposed to understand or use, we're often going to use that topic the next day, and we're going to build off that one and use it again. Therefore, it needs to be done on time. It can't be done like on a Saturday night before Sunday class. We can't sit there and Saturday night do a whole bunch of math, and that's really going to help us for Sunday. You need to do it in pieces, and so we need to make sure that we have some of this done little at a time, okay? So make sure that it's done on time, which means if it's a Monday and you get the assignment, okay, we're in say it's day 4, and that's Monday, okay? Well, that means that the next day you have class, on Wednesday usually, will be day 5. But the day 4 homework will be due on that Wednesday, okay, after class. So the idea would be that you would do the assignment in class and Monday night, Tuesday night, whatever, and then on Wednesday you'd come to class with a completed assignment. Then you would take the time at the beginning of the hour to make sure you've graded it, and if it's the odds, grade the odds. If the evens are presented, then grade those as well, and ask questions, okay? To make sure that we understand the little pieces that we missed. Or let's say you finished and you got 3 of the odds wrong, you want to ask at least one of those questions. So I expect that when I see your work, I see you have marked things wrong that were wrong, and then I might see some more notes on things you fixed. That's good. That shows me that you've learned from things that you didn't know. Okay? And that is part of it. But it's got to be done on time. And then later that day, on the day 5, the Wednesday, if you're still with me, then you need to hand it in on Google Classroom. Okay? That's when it needs to come into me. So make sure that we get that done. There's a couple other things that as I've gone through, and sometimes it takes me a lot longer on Google Classroom than it would if I was standing there. For me to look at your work there, you can get feedback and it can come pretty quick. But I confess that in Google Classroom, sometimes the upload and the download time for me, and the zooming in and checking the whole document, that takes a lot of time on my end. And so I don't always get it back as quickly as I'd like to, especially this last time. But I will do a better job in the future of trying to get at those homework assignments that week so you can get responses that week on how you're doing on homework, okay? So that it can be more timely for you, even though it takes a lot more time for me. But make sure that you're showing all work. These are things that I just kind of assumed, and as I've gone through, I've written many notes to people that weren't showing a lot of work, but some people were continuing to do that, so we need to make sure we talk about this and let you know that, hey, show all your work. If the problem isn't true-false, sometimes it says true-false, but it says justify. Well, then I expect to see justification. I don't just expect to see a true or a false. There's sometimes you're going to have a multiple choice where it's just A, B, C, or D. Fine. You can show me A, B, C, or D. There might have been work that you needed to get that answer. Show that work. whenever there's work, whenever there's a thought process, show the work. Because there's ways to find these answers by using the internet, okay? By looking in the back of the book at the odds. I'm more concerned, how are you getting the answers? What are you doing to get that answer? So please, make sure that you're showing all your work. And I need to say this now, but from now on, if you're not showing your work, it's going to be a 1 or a 0. If it's just a problem or so that I was looking for work on to see how you were doing it and it's not there, but you showed a lot of the work, I may just give you a 1 on the assignment. But if you're missing most of the work, it's going to be a 0. Because mostly what I'm looking at is that you are genuinely going through the practice, and that is how we're picking up and learning. And if it's clear to you, you know how to do this, then it should be no problem to just show, hey, this is what I did, there's my work. The on time, we already talked about this, but some of you maybe are having trouble with the technology for some reason still. I've been assured that, if you don't have the technology at home, or if you don't have the way to do it, then the computer labs are available now. The testing is done, they should be available. I was told there's a scanner for you to go in and you could be able to scan it, and then you should be able to send it on Google Classroom to me. If there's still one student or so that I'm getting an email from because Google Classroom, the Google account is not working at the school, then I get an email from them and I do my best to make sure I get that updated. But it's somewhere else for me, and the easiest place to make sure you have it is the Google Classroom. And so we need to get that done. And if you haven't been doing it, if you've been dragging your feet, now is the time. Ask classmates. In every class, the majority of you are on Google Classroom. There's only a couple that aren't. But if you're having trouble uploading the photos, then talk to somebody. How are you doing this? Making sure we get that done, and how to do that. Okay? And self-scoring. This comes as pretty basic, but part of this self-scoring, even if I was right there, I would have you self-score it. Okay? It's not to make my job easier, because I usually look through the problems anyways. The self-scoring is so that you know that you're doing a genuine effort, and you know how your homework, how your daily practice is going for you. Okay? So that's your job as a self-score it. If you hand it in and you don't self-score it, I'm not going to give you points for it. The other thing is, if you self-score it incorrectly, I'll look at that and I'll either give you a 1 or a 0. Now, for instance, this case, I've seen a lot of these where I'll see the name and I'll have it be a 4 on the top, and I'll look at the assignment and they'll be missing the last 4 problems. Well, if a 4 means it's all the way done. If you're missing the last 4 problems, the most you can get is a 2. In fact, that's only going to be a 1. So mistakes like that, to me, that's not you paying attention. Maybe you thought you were going to get a 4 and you wrote that on ahead of time, but you didn't get that. So make sure that we self-score it correctly. And the last thing I'll say is absent. We haven't really talked about this because Google Classroom just tells me if it's on time or if it's late. Some of you, it's going to maybe it'll say late, but it's because you were absent. Please write me a note. Either type it in and send a note with it when you upload it, or write it on the top there by the 4 and say, hey, I was absent this day, and then I'll see the date that you handed it in, and we'll see if it's within the window where you can get the full credit for it. So make sure you communicate with them on the absent stuff, or sometimes people say, I was at home and my internet it was down, and so the next morning at school, you sent it to me right away in the morning when you got to school. I'll see that date, and I may take that into account for you if it's not something that's happening all the time. But for the most part, when we look at the scores for the tests and the quizzes, it's not always, but if you're not doing well in tests and quizzes, you're going to have to practice more, and you're going to have to practice in a better way. And so that's why these policies are in place, and that's what it's for. It's to help you on your daily practice so that it can help you on your knowledge and what you know and how you do eventually on the tests, quizzes, and the semester final. Thanks for your attention to this, and hope to see you soon.